All right. Hello and welcome. This episode of the podcast, this is going up as a video on YouTube. This is being dropped on Spotify. And this is a vision cast. And I want to cast my vision for how I am developing the athlete experience inside of Tribal. And we got two huge races that are coming up that are really big opportunities for this athlete experience to come to life. And so I want to speak here on like my top level goal for what I want somebody to feel when they come inside of tribal training. The four keys and things that we've built out that really allow that goal to be felt out. And then I also just want to share a bit on how the two races that we have coming up, how they've come to life. As of today, it is Sunday, April 7th, 2024. And we are in race week for Zion 100. We got 10 athletes running 100 miles together this coming Saturday, starting together, finishing together. I don't believe that anybody in endurance has done what we are about to do, run 100 miles as a team. Everybody thinks about endurance as an individual sport, and we are breaking the frame on that. Team races. And then about 5 weeks after that is Chattanooga 70.3, which is going to be the second team 70.3. We got 10 athletes competing there as well. And I will be down in Chattanooga as coach and support, putting on the full athlete experience, team dinner, team tune-up sessions, content coming into town. And so I just want to speak a little bit on what's going on right now inside the tribe. So top level goal. My top level goal when someone comes into tribal training is that I want them to feel like a pro athlete. And I don't mean that in the sense of anything performance related. Like, of course, we're all, well, at least myself, I'm trying to get faster, I'm trying to go farther. But feeling like a pro doesn't have to do with that side of things. When I think about feeling like a pro, I think about four key things. Number one is structured training towards a competition. Number two is being part of a team and having teammates. Number three is the gear. You know we're rocking the dopest gear. And then number four is the race day content and having really, really high quality photos and videos to capture the experience. And so much of why this is my vision for athletes inside the tribe is just from my own experience. And when I think about what I wanted to be as a kid, my answer was just always pro athlete. It didn't matter what sport. In baseball season, I wanted to play for the Phillies. In basketball season, I wanted to play for the Sixers. When I was obsessed with golf, I wanted to play on the PGA Tour. And unfortunately for me, none of those came true. But fortunately for me, the deeper qualities of all of those dreams, I get to live out as part of tribal training. Training towards a competition, getting to be outside all the time, getting to have teammates, getting to wear the gear. And then a new evolution of that is the content. And so many athletes, when they come into tribal training, they are former competitive athletes. Like they played a sport in high school, they played a sport in college, but then they get into their 20s, their 30s, and athletics are like totally stripped from their lives. And their entire identity as an athlete just poofs into thin air. And now their identity gets wrapped up in their profession, and their fitness is reserved to just going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. And that competitive edge, it gets lost without really thinking about it. And so when they get back into the tribe or they join the tribe, now all of a sudden these athletic qualities, they get to grab them back right away. Training towards a race, they've got athletes that they can share this experience with, that they can learn from, that they can support and encourage, that they can receive support and encouragement from along the way. Of course, we've got the gear, the team kits. I'm rocking the run hat right now. We got run tanks. We got sweatshirts. We got long sleeves, all kinds of stuff. And then the team content, which is a new evolution. So that's like my vision right now for when someone comes into the team. How do they feel and how do we manifest that feeling? Now, I want to share on how Zion 100 and how this Chattanooga 70.3 race, how they are really evolving this race experience inside the tribe. I'll start with the Chattanooga 70.3 squad because this is an evolution of the accelerator program. So right now it's April 2024. Back in July of 2023, I launched the Endurance Accelerator program. And the idea at the time was I want to create an 8-week program that basically fast tracks somebody into endurance and into tribal training. Going to give them all the secrets they need to know to get ramped up very quickly. And I want to give them this small group experience where we got like 50 plus people inside tribal training right now. So if you are somebody that's new and coming in, it's going to take some time to build some relationships amongst that larger group. But if I can put you into a program where you've got 6 to 10 people that you're plugged in on weekly calls with, that can be a really easy way to bond, build relationships, get to know people, and really give you like that team feeling very, very quickly. Now, when I launched that accelerator program in July, I was thinking that people were going to have like kind of low level goals, which was really silly because I was thinking that people were going to train for like 10Ks. And in hindsight, I'm like, dude, you don't train a single person towards like their big goal being a 10K. Guys run 10Ks like on a random freaking Saturday because you're training them towards 70.3s and Ironmans and ultras. But whatever, I was deceiving myself. All of a sudden, I launched the accelerator program, and the guys that joined wanted to train for 70.3s. And so I was like, holy crap. And so for me, it was so valuable because I was just like, boom, we're on a short timeline. You want to do a 70.3? This is exactly what you need to know. And there were two guys in that program that were really, really impactful on how some evolutions of tribal training have taken place. Aaron Burke and Logan Turner. So these guys, these are indie guys, and they decided that they were down to shoot for Muncie 70.3, which was like 10 weeks after the start of the accelerator cohort. And so instantly I was like, okay, boom, this is what you got to do. This is what you need to know. And we already had, I think, like 6 other athletes set to do Muncie. But because these guys joined, that really encouraged me to fly out to Indy for the race. I was like, I'm going to have this big group. It's going to be a bunch of these athletes' first times. I'm really plugged in, of course, with my one-on-one athletes, but now I'm also like on these weekly calls with Logan and Aaron. So let me just capitalize on this opportunity. And Muncie 70.3, all of a sudden I was like, the content guy that I know, Charlie Garwood, he's in the area. Let me hire him to come out for the day. He can capture the moment, get photos of people. He can get a little mini documentary made of the race day. And all of a sudden, this vision that I had for what it means to compete with tribal training, it started to evolve. And the prior vision was really based off of us doing Ironman Florida the past couple of years, where it's like we've got a bunch of athletes that are training towards this race, and they're seeing each other in the team, right? But I hadn't had them on weekly calls together. And so getting those first guys in the accelerator and getting them towards Muncie really unlocked the ability to organize guys on calls ahead of a race. It unlocked my ability to go to a race as pure coach and support. It unlocked the ability to hire my content guy, Charlie, to come out and really provide photos that will like last a lifetime. And of course, we had the team gear as well. I also ordered the tribal flag that's hanging over here to my left. That was awesome for me to just have that for the team branding. And so that was basically like in September. And then shortly after that, I rolled through 2 more accelerator programs. And right away, I saw that those late fall, winter programs, I didn't have them directed towards races. And the cohorts just went differently. They were a little bit more focused on like personal development. There was less urgency on training. A little bit more about just connection and community building, which was totally fine. But I liked the value of having the race coming up where it's like, hey, we're getting on these calls every week. I'm going to have some kind of mindset and development lessons. But then also like, how's everyone's training going? And so now with Chattanooga, I was thinking back in January, February, I'm like, how do I launch the next cohort? Like, what do I want cohort 4 to be? And I decided to basically just organize the group that was doing Chattanooga into Accelerator Cohort 4. which was also the first time that I opened up the cohort to anybody that's already inside the tribe. The first 3 cohorts were all about new one-on-one athletes getting plugged in and then people joining directly towards the cohort. But I also realized that guys were kind of bummed when the cohort ended because they missed the weekly connection. They missed that small group vibe. And so for cohort 4, I was like, all right, let me grab these different pieces of what's worked. 1, building towards the race. 2, having athletes that have an opportunity to basically just like be already a part of tribal training. I guess I hadn't really done that, and I was thinking about that being an unlock. And that's how we've been running the Chattanooga cohort. And it's working freaking great because we got guys who are also doing their first 70.3 now. And it's like we have guys sharing PRs every single week because they're doing their first 70.3. So like we've had athletes over the past couple of weeks, like first 3-hour ride, first 50-mile ride, first 60-mile ride, longest swim ever, longest run ever. Fueling unlocks. What did you learn in the sessions? And so now everybody's getting to learn in public. And when we get to this race, everybody's going to already have built a bit of a relationship. That was one other thing that I learned from the Muncie 70.3 race. It was great that a few of the guys knew each other, but we had a handful of athletes where it was like the first time they're ever really even seeing somebody's face or connecting with them is like 10 minutes before the swim start, which was fine. But I'm like, how can I elevate the athlete experience? I can get these guys getting to know each other prior to showing up in person and meeting in person for the first time. Now, the other thing, let me get back to Zion 100. So Zion 100, I didn't really run this as an accelerator, but I have been doing weekly team calls with this group in the 8 weeks that lead up to the race. Now, I'll tell you why I didn't think about this as an accelerator, because when I went into this, my entire intention was like, oh, well, we are running this race together. And so all these calls need to be around like our race plan as a unit, our race pacing. Of course, we're going to be working on fueling and gear and all these other kinds of things, but I just didn't really think about it as an accelerator. And that's just a good learning lesson for me. It's like all of this stuff is just kind of what I decide to name it and what I decide to call it. But like I could have called that a new accelerator program, and I just didn't, which to me, I'm like, I can't count that in retrospect. That could have been Accelerator Cohort 4. And then a couple weeks later, I could have kicked off Accelerator Cohort 5 with the Chattanooga group. But no, didn't do that. So the Zion group is just staying as team calls. Another cool thing out of the Zion mission is that has totally come to life out of us running the Mo 50K together back in June. And that was a totally unplanned experience. I was in Indy for a business building weekend with my business coach, Zach, and I was 8 weeks into fatherhood. And my mind is just all over the place. All that I'm thinking is get to Indy, get a bunch of shit done for the business, and get back home because my wife and newborn are holding it down together. And I remember laying in my hotel bed basically right before the night when I'm about to take off. I'm laying in bed. I'm about to fly out the next morning. And I'm just like, dude, why would you leave? You got 6 athletes running a 50K tomorrow. None of these guys have done an ultra before. Like, why would you not run it with them? And why would you not just use this as experience as a way to do something that you've never done, both with the teammates and then also just like for the business? And made a call home. Chelsea was holding it down. We were totally fine for me to extend the trip. And so running that race, running a 50K on 24 hours notice, I mean, that's endurance for you, baby. I love that. Didn't need to prep, just ripped it off. Also did that, I will note, in the context of I was about 6 weeks out from Oregon 70.3, which I was very performance focused for. And in my head, I'm like, if I run a 50K, is that going to screw me up? Am I going to get all fatigued and fuck up my running? And no, I was able to pull that off and then ripped off a huge PR at Oregon 70.3 6 weeks later, 4:34 total time, 7:27 pace on the half marathon, massive PRs. So that was a good little lesson for me. Hey, man, it doesn't need to be so freaking perfectly structured as you build towards races. Okay. Now, back to the overall idea of like the athlete experience inside a tribal. So the Chattanooga race is going to be a great manifestation of this because I've got Charlie, my content guy. He's coming to Zion and he's coming to Chattanooga. So Chattanooga, here's what's going down. What's the new athlete experience? And what's my vision for this as this thing comes to life? Okay, so we got the accelerator program where the 10 athletes that are competing together are on calls in the 8 weeks leading up to the race. Boom. That's unlock number one. We got relationship building, we got accountability, we got group and communal learning. Huge. Number two, I am going to be there, and we are going to have the team dinner that will be on Friday night. Race is on Sunday. So team dinners, we've done these at Ironman Florida the past 2 years that we've been there. But I love this. It's like the team gets to come over to my place. We're all helping out. We're all chipping in. It's low pressure place, low pressure environment. We're all chipping in and helping out. And we're just hanging. And families come, kids come. We got people running around everywhere. And like, that's what I love. I love putting on an event like that. And I love giving people the chance to get to know each other. The wives can be sipping on some wine. No wine for the athletes. Let's go. We're locked in. So at Chattanooga, we'll have a team dinner on Friday night. And then we'll do some team tune-up sessions. So just like an opener ride, easy spin on Saturday morning before everybody drops their bikes off. We've done that at Ironman Florida the past couple of years. And then we've, of course, got everybody in the team kits, right? The team kits should be in a couple of weeks, the new 2024 team kits. And everybody at Chattanooga is going to be rocking them. And then we've got the content team. My guy, Charlie Garwood, is coming, and he's going to get incredible photos and make a mini documentary of the day. So back to that first idea of like, okay, well, how do I help athletes feel like a pro athlete? Bro, that whole freaking experience. And when you think about the fact that when this business started, I was just providing programming to people doing 70.3. And I've just continued to lean into like, how can we make this more of a team experience? How can we elevate what it feels like to be a part of tribal training? These are all the things that I've been working on the back end. And I'll have the team flag, the tribal flag. I'll have that there. It was so fun to run around at Muncie with that thing and plant that at different areas. Swim start, run start, near the finish. Really just making our own rules. And then also to really wrap all this together on just like the athlete experience inside of Tribal is that, of course, we are all connected online, right? We are connected digitally. But now we've got opportunities where guys can get in person anywhere from like 1 to 5 times a year. And some of the guys doing Chattanooga, like it may be their only team event of the year, and that may be like enough for them. That's sufficient for what they want. That's great. But we also got the chance for guys to do things like 5 times a year. Like Brandon Luttrell and I, assistant coach Brandon, we were talking, I think it was at Oregon 70.3, and we were like, dude, we've been together in person 5 times in the past calendar year. Like, I think it was training camp in September of 2022, Ironman Florida in November of 2022, 2 or 3 other things. I'm not even really remembering what it was. And then Oregon 70.3. And it's like, dude, like we all got families. We all got busy lives, right? We run businesses, stuff like that. So it's like, we might not be together every week as if we live together, like we're all across the country. But like, if we can get together up to 5 times, like that's significant. Like we're playing significant roles in each other's lives. And when I then also think about some other tribal athletes like Trevor and Cameron, these guys are a great example of that. Like these guys are doing Zion 100 together. These guys ran Coldwater Rumble 100K together in January, and they did Ironman Florida together in November. So these guys will be together 3 times in like a 5 or 6 month span. And so to me, as I'm just like trying to get people just a little bit meshed more into the fabric of the tribe and create these experiences and create this connection, it's like we're now rolling with the weekly team calls. We got the cafe as the first call of the month. The symposium is the second week of the month. We got office hours as the third week of the month. And then we got a community call as the fourth week of the month. We also then have these accelerator programs. And the accelerator program, I will mention that I opened that up to anybody inside of tribal training. I said that earlier, but like specifically how that's played out is that the Chattanooga race is in May. And we also have some guys that have like June or July 70.3s. And there's a group of like 3 guys, I think, that are doing Happy Valley 70.3. And so I'm like, listen, that might not be like a full team race where I'm going to that, but like you guys can still get plugged into the 70.3 accelerator ahead of Chattanooga, and you can be a part of the prep for that, which will just better prepare you for your own race that's coming up just a few weeks after that. So that's a bit of my vision right now. That's how I'm thinking about building out the team and building out these races. I got some future ideas on hosting my own races, honestly. Training camp evolving into basically tribal training trail fest is one idea that I have. And then basically a backyard try where we're just doing 70.3 distance out here in Boulder. Those are 2 big ideas that I have. But this is a bit of what I'm working on. And we're capitalizing. We got Zion coming up less than a week. I'm running 100 miles in less than a week. Like, what? Let's go. And then 4 or 5 weeks after that, I'll be down in Chattanooga supporting a bunch of first timers, some experienced athletes, and just elevating that race experience, building on a lot of cool things from what went well at Muncie and then how we can make it better. I'm not sure what the next evolution of the accelerator cohort is going to be, but we'll just keep adapting, overcoming, rolling with what's working, improving on what could use a little bit of love, and making this whole thing better, man. So if you're listening to this, and you're part of the tribe, this is my vision, right, for you as an athlete. And if you're not a part of the tribe, and if you want to get some of this action, if you want to feel like you're part of a team, feel like a pro athlete, have the training, have the team, rock the gear, get the content. Like, this is what I'm working on as I'm building out this team and this community and this business. So with that, I will wrap it. Thank you for listening. See you next time.